Good evening and welcome to the very first episode of Hockey on 216 here on SuperSport Schools, our latest offering focusing on the game of boys and girls hockey in South Africa, and proudly brought to you by Hyundai. Wonderful to have them on board as a sponsor of hockey in South Africa. Your host tonight, I'm Kelvin Watt. We'll be hosting the show regularly with my two co-hosts in studio here tonight, Bridget Key, known very well to most of you in the world of hockey. Welcome, Bridget. Always great to have you here.
Thanks,
must be said, not only here to talk about hockey, but Bridget also, for those of you who don't know, is responsible for all production that takes place in the SuperSport school space. So really wonderful to have her in the studio. Bridget, welcome.
Thank you.
And of course, Crinison Moonley, best known in the hockey world as Moodles. Moodles Major, I think, for those really from your college down in the Eastern Cape. Obviously, currently at St Albans, but long hockey pedigree, knows a lot about the game and is really going to be helping us focus on the boys' game. Crinison, great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Calvin.
And as we go into the first show, I think what we thought we'd do is take a good look at what's coming up in this extraordinary, exciting 2025 season of boys and girls hockey around South Africa. We came off, I think, quite an extraordinary year last year with some wonderful performances from teams from right around the country. And here we go. Pretty much early on, we head straight into the festival season, some incredible events coming on. Bridget, girls hockey, what's really to look forward to, maybe just quickly as we go into this early part of the season?
Yeah, we've got phenomenal hockey. We've already started the season with some Friday Night Lights hockey, and we carry on the season going into St Andrews Under 16 hockey tournament this coming up. And then you've got St Mary's Hockey Festival, brilliant, very exciting hockey, one of the biggest hockey tournaments. Then you go all the way through right to the very end in August, where it wraps up with the top 12s, top 14s, top 16s, as well as in between that, you've got your national week. So super hockey.
Incredible season of hockey. And Chris, we often talk about hockey in South Africa is just so blessed at a schools level with this incredible tournament festival structure. It's just so rich, isn't it?
It is. And I think that the opportunities continue to grow for our young players in South Africa. I mean, I think that what started off as your Nomads and Founders festivals were the sort of the prestigious festivals to go to. Now you've had a number of festivals come on board, the Easter festivals that have been around for some time now, the Coastal Cup in Durban, the Hibbert Shield, the Greg Beeling, Tony Godding Festival in East London. There's so much opportunity for the boys now to showcase their ability.
And not only for the boys, I think we get the coaches just to get that opportunity to really hone your coaching skills. And it's a great benefit to the coaches, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when you see, there's almost, all teams are operating from a very similar base nowadays, you look at all the fixtures at these festivals and they're all tightly contested games. I think in the natural flows of school sport, you'll have teams that are better one year than the next. But schools hockey is very blessed with the best coaching talent in the country exists in schools hockey. And I think it's quite unique to hockey in South Africa as a sport, and probably unique to sport worldwide, that our top resources in terms of human resources from a hockey perspective exist in schools.
Absolutely. And Bridget, obviously from a SuperSport Schools perspective, all of our hockey will be on the SuperSport Schools app.
Yep.
Last year, 11,500 matches, hockey matches, which makes SuperSport Schools the biggest broadcaster of hockey in the world, which is extraordinary.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier Friday Night Lights. Again, Hyundai have come on board, so we'll be having a Hyundai Friday Night Lights devoted to hockey in this country. And we can probably look for a bit of Friday Night Lights on Wednesday night and Thursday nights as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to get traditional games being played on a Friday night that will be live, but then your sort of other derbies that are midweek derbies, catch-up games, for example, my class are playing Northwood. They will play midweek, and then we'll play it out as a Friday Night Lights game as well, which is really exciting. So
the viewers shouldn't get too surprised when they see Friday Night Lights on Wednesday Night Lights.
Correct.
Obviously, that is live on SuperSport Schools, channel 216 on DSTV, but also excitingly this year on the SuperSport Schools channel on SABC+.
Yes, that's such an exciting addition to the whole SuperSport Schools program, is that we now are capitalizing into a whole different target market. You've got the free SABC Plus app, and most of our hockey will be played out there. And so really capitalizing across the whole of South Africa.
Absolutely. Kristen, we're going into the 2025 season. I think maybe let's just chat about boys hockey to start off with. Really exciting year coming, and there's been a couple of changes in the coaching ranks and, around the country. So starting off in KZN, Nick Berishon going into his second season at Michael, supported by Grant van Meyer in that program. Expecting a lot in a second season?
I think that, Nick comes from good hockey pedigree. Having played at Maritzburg College, I think he captained the first team, and then went on to Tuks, where he captained the Tuks side, and then got into coaching, ran a very successful program at Gasfontein in Pretoria, which really put him on the map as a coach. And I think, his drive that he's taken to Michaelhouse now, we could see last year,
Absolutely.
that they started to really compete at the top level. I think that for Nick, it's a program that he's poured his heart and soul into now from last year, and I think we're going to see some exciting hockey from them this year.
Definitely so, and as you say, some really good results. They even snuck one away from Hilton College. I think the boys were so excited they pushed the whole fence down. A huge amount of excitement there. But talking about the home of hockey, Maritzburg College,
yes.
Mark Saunders taking over from Kyle Emerson there, big move. He's obviously been the director of hockey there for the past year. And Mark taking over from Kyle. What do you expect there?
Yeah, I think Mark also comes from a wealth of experience of coaching hockey at the top level. It's going to be interesting, I think. Change always brings about some good opportunities, but also challenges in the first year. You find that coaches generally take some time to settle. But I think probably what's very interesting and really exciting about what's happening at Maritzburg College is that Calvin, I think one of your hockey coaches,
absolutely,
and someone who's really got a long legacy in South African hockey and cricket, Mike Bechet, has returned to Maritzburg College. As I understand it, he'll be coaching the under-14s. What a fantastic addition to their program.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's so nice to see someone of Besha's ability to coach at an under-14 level. Just shows the depth that's going to be created in Maritzburg College.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he did coach me, and I'm not the youngest, so it just shows you how old he is. But I think he's lost very little of his spark, and it'll be really interesting to see what he brings to that program. Talking about some exciting changes, and we saw a bit of it roll out this last week. Keegan Pearce has obviously gone to Kearsney. Calvin Price, or Chicken Price, better known in hockey circles, has taken over from him at Clifton. And they played to a really exciting draw this past weekend. So what are you expecting from those two programs?
Yeah, look, I think both excellent hockey coaches. Keegan currently involved in our junior national setup and the under-21s and men's setup. I think Keegan takes a wealth of experience. He's a passionate coach, and we've seen that Kearsney is starting to change the way they play. A lot more exciting hockey there, which I think is going to stand them in good stead going into the season. That whole KZN circuit of games is tough. There are no...
in big schools.
Yeah, there are no easy games there. And I think what you're finding is that, the movement between schools creates a little bit more of an edge on these fixtures now, where guys are really wanting to, stamp their presence at the schools they've moved to. So some exciting stuff for Kearsney moving forward.
So, yeah, absolutely a lot. And Bridget, if I'm right, it was Luke Carolyn with a great goal there to draw for Clifton. So, really good one to have watched. Moving to Gauteng, Gilbert de Villiers in his second season at St. John's, but I think his first full season with a proper full, pre-season.
Yeah.
He's a coach I think a lot of us really like, and we're expecting a lot. Tough loss for him against Kes this weekend. I know he'll be disappointed, but, expecting a lot from him this year. Perhaps most interestingly, though, Onam Vimby moving in at St. Benedict's.
Yeah, I think it's Owen's second season at St. Benedict's, or he might have joined halfway through last year as the director of hockey at St. Benedict's. Fantastic addition for them. I think you can start to see, I watched the St. Benedict's and Albans game this past weekend, and you can just see so much of Owen's flair in the way they play. And Owen,
passionate.
He's super passionate, motivated, and Owen's just a wonderful proponent of what South African hockey can produce.
Absolutely, we'll be watching St. Benedict's very, very closely in terms of where they go. Obviously, this week it's Kes Jeppe, which is always going to be a humdinger, always tough to call. Jeppe have come off 3 big wins early on. You know, I think we were all fascinated last Wednesday between the game with them and St Stithians, which sort of went backwards and forwards for much of the game.
Saints opening the scoring,
yeah, lots of goals being scored. I think in the end it was 4-3. Jeppe snuck it. I think St Stithians thought they had it, but you know, Jeppe stood up again. Tough nut to crack in the Southern's hockey circles, aren't they?
Yeah.
And there we've got Sia Satanya, you know, really a new coach. I don't know much about him. I don't know what you guys know.
I don't know much about Sia, but you know, clearly Jeppe have started the season incredibly well. He obviously knows his game. And Jeppe have become one of those schools where you know they're going to put out a quality outfit every year. Always tough to play at Jeppe as well. And yeah, looking forward to what they're going to produce from a Gauteng point of view to challenge perhaps some of the teams in the other provincers that are standing out.
And one to watch there, the youngster John Martins, who we saw flicking. I think it's really going to be something to watch in the PCs. Western Cape, obviously really interesting. Again, always tough. Again, similar to KZN, some really tough stuff there. One of my favourite schoolboy coaches and one of the favourite coaches I have watching the country, Michael Baker. It's his second season at Paul Roos. He had a star-studded team last time out. With Ruben Senzel and some really, you know, top players. So it's going to be an interesting season for him, but they've started well, and I expect a lot from Paul Roos this year.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they've also become another school that's synonymous with producing a good first team. And as you say, that Western Cape League is tough. You've got, you know, Paul Roos, you've got Sachs, who have really put, you know, their hockey on the map in the last couple of years, producing a number of national players. Bishop's always up there and competitive. Rondebosch, Weinberg. So, you know, there's a number of schools there who will fight for those top spots in South African hockey.
And even Paul Fillet have come up.
Yeah, Paul Boys High, Paul Jim. You know, the hockey just seems to be growing and gathering momentum every year.
Well, as you say, you know, Pierre Leroux there, his third year, been an incredible team. He has a superstar in Lita Cry in that team. Hard not to see them finishing at the top, right at the top. You know, if someone had to give me, you know, who's going to finish top of the log this year, it's probably the team I'd go for. But it'll be interesting to see, and I'm sure there are a lot of coaches around the country who would differ with that. Anyway, when we come back, I think from the ad break bridge, we'd love to chat a bit about the girls' game and you know, some of the exciting changes, coaching changes, and what else we can expect coming out of girls' hockey going into 2025. And welcome back. You know, we didn't quite finish off chatting about some of the most exciting, you know, hockey going around the boys in the country. It's just extraordinary that in every province you go to, there's so much going on. And Bridget, just before we left, you spoke about Paul Fillet, and we've seen Wayne Kutsia move there from Grey College. A really interesting move. Yeah,
I think a good move. For Paul Fillet, I think Wayne has really put the Grey first team. They had an excellent season last year. They've been competing with all the top teams around.
You got to clarify, Hag, which Grey?
Yeah,
Grey College.
Grey College. And Grey College, fantastic program. I mean, they've got the gentleman of hockey, Brahm, as the head of Grey. And I think their hockey is just going to go from strength to strength. They've just employed Dalen Phillips as their director of hockey, coming from the Eastern Cape, Selborne boy, coached at Pearson before this, national hockey player. So exciting times for Grey.
Always incredible that a school so well known for its rugby is just as a headmaster who's really a hockey man to boot, isn't it? And we, as a hockey community, we'll definitely claim him
we will
and own him, won't we?
Absolutely.
So absolutely.
Always.
And I think Dalen Phillips, an old Selbornian, so from the Eastern Cape up in the Free State. Going to be an interesting one for him. As you say, he's building on a big program, so lots to be done there. Moving into Pretoria, and without putting you on the spot as one of the senior leaders at St Albans, Guy Elliott and Robin Jones. I mean, that's a big coaching staff. Lots expected of them. The pressure must be on for them to deliver.
Yeah, I think they feel a bit of that pressure. I mean, both very involved with the national setup, and 2 experienced coaches there. So, yeah, I think that the St Albans hockey program, you can always see they play to a plan, well coached, but there will be some pressure on results this year, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and both of them, I hate not to mention it, with roots at Maritzburg College and Guy Elliott, very much part of that Mike Bechet Red Army, like Nick Bereshon and so many other fine coaches in the country. And then obviously, the two big boys' schools in Pretoria. Colin Mendoza, I don't know much about him at Uffie's. He's pretty new to the program. Tell me a bit about him.
Colin's come to Uffie's from Rustenburg, coming from a hockey family, and taking over a program that has just grown over the years. Started, Neville Rothman really took the program to another level, and the program's grown from there, where Uffie's have become contenders in the boys' hockey circles. Certainly a tough team to play against always, and I think Colin brings that as well. There'll be no lack of passion in the Uffie setup.
It's pretty much the story of the Collins, with Colin Fielding across at Pretoria Boys, a seasoned coach, tough nut to crack always a difficult team to beat home and away.
Absolutely. Another team that, irrespective of the sort of landscape, you always hear Pretoria Boys high in the sort of top tiers of hockey. I think Colin brings to the table a lot more structure. He's very technical. One thing that I think is quite important that Colin brings to the table, and if you looked at a lot of the goals scored early on in the boys' hockey this week, was from penalty corners.
Absolutely.
And, so definitely better set pieces from the boys, but I think there's also the goalkeeping element that comes into it.
His goalkeeping technique is really good.
Yeah.
So.
No, and I'm excited for what he's going to
And
produce.
perhaps it's something that we'll discuss in later episodes, that, short corner or PC defence is really important. Some schools perhaps not taking enough time to really focus on it. I mean, certainly in the game we saw last week, not soft goals, but certainly not perhaps enough PC defence really coming to the fore. And I think we'll see that as the season goes, we'll see those defences getting so much tighter.
I mean, I think that comes out of it's quite a difficult thing to train live PCD. But I think it's something certainly at national level that's a big focus because of the flickers becoming so good. And hopefully that'll be a focus.
And then obviously back your roots in the Eastern Cape. Anything exciting that's taken your eye down in the Eastern Cape?
Lots of good things happen in the Eastern Cape. And I think probably the most exciting thing down there is that Dave Reid-Ross, who's an old Grey High School in PE, he's moved back to Port Elizabeth to take on the hockey professional role at Grey. And certainly, I saw the under-14s play last year, the under-16s. By all accounts, Kevin Cree, who's an old Grey as well, his son, apparently very good hockey player. Looking forward to watching him play at the Hibbett Shield. So Grey's going to be one to watch out for. But the Eastern Cape growing all the time. Pearson's hockey program, really good. I've seen some good early results from St Andrews. Selborne's always a tough team to play against. Also, lots of pedigree coming out of there, produced a number of good coaches and players. So things are looking good in the Eastern Cape. I think it's good to watch.
Bridget, obviously moving across to the girls' game, I think perhaps the province which has had the most interesting from a coaching is KZN Inland, and it's really quite exciting for the game there. And obviously, well, that's my roots. I know you just sort of down the valley. More in KZN Coastal world growing up. But, I mean, obviously, Morne Oudendal into St Anne's last year, and they already just won their first Spa tournament. I mean, he's just one of the greats of girls hockey, isn't he? Really tough coach, brought so much to that game already.
Absolutely. His move from Oranje down to St Anne's has really revolutionised the St Anne's program. I think they're really exciting to watch. They play with a different style compared to what they were used to. So someone to watch. I think they're going to be contenders this year, which is exciting.
And just down the hill, or just slightly down the hill, his brother Emil has joined him in Pietermaritzburg at the Wickham Collegiate. They without Amy McCaskill this year, I mean, top striker, which is obviously unfortunate for them and her knee injury, although we will be seeing her, I think, a lot commentating and working some for SuperSport schools. But that's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, fun. They actually played each other in the final for the Spa Pietermaritzburg Regional. So when Wickham took on St Anne's, the two brothers took on each other, and Morne came on top this time with St Anne's taking that win. So, yeah, exciting to watch what Wickham's going to bring to the table.
And then down in Pietermaritzburg, obviously Darren Gallagher out of Hilton College into Epworth. Epworth perhaps best known for its it's squash and it's paddling prowess.
Well, having said that, though, they've produced some amazing hockey players. You've got Heather McEwen, who's currently playing for Scotland from Epworth. So very exciting.
They've got some pedigree. So, and Darren, certainly from my side, I've seen a lot of him over the years. Another one of the Maritzburg College coaches. So, again, Spa tournament winners this weekend. Captain Catherine Schultz there with her sister Anna, holding up the trophy quite proudly. For those of you who don't know, their mother, Janet Snell, she was better known, Janet Schultz, ex-Western Province, I think playing a lot of SA Masters at the moment. So some hockey pedigree down there at Epworth now.
Always. I think in Natal in general, there's such pedigree in the hockey fraternity. You often find that parents arrive and they've played with you and they're back. So it really is a historical place.
So, a lot coming from inland, very exciting. Not too much coach movement going on in KZN Coastals. I mean, obviously the one to call out, though, Durban Girls College were magnificent last year under Chardonnay Peniston. Big 2024. It always puts a bit of pressure for 2025.
Yeah, John T. Robertson helps that team out as well. So nice to have that pedigree of John T. coming through, old national player in the men's setup. So, Chardonnay is going to be it's going to be very exciting to watch Durban Girls College and see what they can do. They have lost a lot of players this year. So they lost in the Spa Durban Central to Morris Stella, which is very exciting because Morris Stella haven't been on the hockey, forefront for a long time. So seeing Morris Stella come through, that's really good for KZN hockey.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, you expect the St. Mary's Kloof girls will be at it again. They're always a good side. They're well coached. They've got lots of talent. But even there, you're talking about that sort of result. We saw a similar result in swimming recently, and I know that Durban District Gala is something close to your heart.
Yes.
Not also won by one of the sort of traditional big dogs or what of
Our Lady of Fatima taking the win there with 2 points against Durban Girls College. So very exciting.
Girls sport in a bit of transition in KZN and in Durban. That's really exciting. And obviously moving into Gauteng, St. Mary's sort of traditional powerhouse of hockey here, Cindy Brown running that program. Also the S-under-21 coach, as you were talking about, just that sort of synergy that takes place between schools and our national programs. Lost to 1-0 to Garsfontein this weekend, but from what I've heard, they've had Brett Tucker in there in the off-season doing a lot of work, and this is the fittest St. Mary's team we've seen in a long time. What do you expect from that program?
I think they're going to be really exciting because they had a lot of youngsters coming through. A nice new side, so they're going to be fit. They're always tough to play, particularly when they're hosting their own tournament. They get a lot of support, so that's going to be exciting. St. Mary's Waverley, you do not ever discredit because they've always got something up their sleeve.
And obviously one of the big clashes for them this season is going to be with St. Stithians girls, another really quality outfit from last year, coached by Lance Lowe, another, hockey man with just incredible pedigree. And these kids are just so fortunate to have this level of coaching, aren't they?
Yeah, Lance Lowe is such a passionate coach. He's been involved in the hockey setup for so long. Part-time Old Boy, coached at JP, moved across to now coach girls, which is really exciting. And, Saints are going to do wonders this year again. They've lost some players, but same thing. They've got a building opportunity coming their way.
And always good, and as you say, just such a good program.
Yeah.
Across the border in Pretoria, Omri Pienaar at Waterkloof, always a solid program. Expecting a lot from them this year.
Omi is a phenomenal coach. Waterkloof went down to Oranje. They've started their season really well. They've played a lot of hockey already. So Omri always want to contend with that Waterkloof. They always find themselves playing in the top level. So really exciting. They've got a brilliant goalkeeper this year. So that's also going to be one to watch.
As we were talking about in that sort of PCD defence, the good goalkeepers just make such a big difference, don't they?
Definitely. Particularly in the girls' game, where you're not getting, direct flicks coming off. It's more the second phase, third phase. So a goalkeeper that can move quickly between the box. It's top
massive difference to the results. And just down the road, Brad Brooks at Menlo, good start. I think they've played 13 games already this season, so they're up and running. It's only the mid-March, and they've played 13 matches, so that's a lot.
No, they got a win against Unisia, 1-0 win past weekend, and then they did play Oranje, so they really are looking hot. They've got some great players in their setup, and exciting to watch what they're going to bring to the whole hockey fraternity again in Pretoria. You're just seeing powerhouses growing in Pretoria and hockey. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And I mean, speaking about Oranje, probably the top program after the last 10, 12 years. I mean, Durban Girls College popped up last year. Renish certainly came through. We've seen Unisia a little bit of golden patch a year or two ago with Tierra Augusti and a few other top players. But really, the program to watch over time. Another great goalkeeper,
Absolutely. They've also got someone that you got to watch in Fulcha. She's brilliant. She's going to be really exciting to watch. So the goalkeeping, I'm excited in the goal space because it's something you don't often see. So, you're usually getting a midfielder. When you watch good goalkeepers, it makes it very exciting because you're seeing different play.
Absolutely. So a lot expected there from Gijs van Schalkwyk and his charges. And just down the road, Eunice, Nika Koetsen. It's going to be an interesting year. Obviously, how they'll be doing. It'll be interesting to see what they can bring to the season.
Absolutely. I'm excited for Eunice. They've got Bianca Rees-Gibbs, who's just come back from, she had a tough year last year. She suffered from a stroke in the under-21 setup, and she's made a miraculous recovery. So for a matric year, she had a nice start against Waterkloof, so it was a welcome back to her, an emotional welcome back. They've started off their campaign really well as well. Eunice, never underestimate Eunice. They're fast, they're fit, they're hard.
And obviously, looking down at the Western Cape, some really great hockey last year. Not too many coach changes that we've seen there. Perhaps the most interesting team for us to watch this year will be Renish after such a wonderful year under Chris Gerber last year. A lot of great 11s back. I think for me, this could be the team that to really watch this year. And if there's anyone that's going to challenge Oranje, it's going to be them. Yeah,
Renish, the program has excelled in the last 5 years, and someone that you kind of always a bit unsure of. You don't know what you're going to get, but they're really skillful. They've got good technique. They've also tactically very astute, so that's exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And I think on the girls' game, one of the most exciting parts of it, I guess, which is different to the boys' games, you have the St. Mary's Festival where all the top teams come together. It's coming up in the first week of April, 32, 36 teams coming together. Yep. Probably the toughest format of any sport tournament in the country. It'll obviously be nearly all live on SuperSport Schools, Channel 216, which is really exciting. And then, Bridget, really, I guess, lots going on in the girls' game. That St. Mary's Festival will tell us, what to expect for the year. It'll really put a marker in the ground. But going into this weekend, Friday Night Lights on SuperSport Schools, what can we expect?
So you got St. Andrews Under-16 Hounday tournament, which is really fun because it's an Under-16 tournament. So it's nice to see the depth that's been created in the juniors coming through. So an opportunity to see what's coming up in 26, 27 in the hockey fraternity in the female space. So that's one to watch from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All of it's on Channel 216. So super start to the hockey season.
Absolutely. So hopefully you'll all be tuning in for the Hyundai Under-16 tournament from St. Andrews this weekend for just a glorious weekend of Under-16 girls hockey, which we're really excited about. As you can hear, I think from all of us, we're extremely excited about the season that's in front of us. The show probably we could have gone on for another 24, 20, minutes.
Easily.
But that's the end of your first Hockey on 216, proudly brought to you by Hyundai. Wonderful to have a weekly show with you, and Princeton, Bridget, and a few other guests will be joining us as we go forward. Thanks very much.